Alright, brush monkeys, welcome back. This week we're looking at, we're continuing our series on the Raging Heroes, Daughters of the Crucible series. And this week we're looking at Sister Two Tricks Felicidad. There's a card. Here's the actual figure. And she looks pretty spiffy. Now this one I thought was interesting because out of all the Raging Heroes minis I've gotten, this is the first one I've gotten that actually had a casting issue with it. I'm going to zoom in here, hopefully you can see this. Right there. Nope, went too far. Story of my life. Like you little wanker. Okay, that's going to have to do. Right here, you can see the gun. You can see part of the hand holding the gun. But right there, there's a little cutout along the top of that fabric where the rest of the gun and the hand and the arm that's holding it are gone. And you don't see them from this side because it's all just covered up with this fabric. So this is the first one I've had that actually had some kind of a molding issue with it. It's not severe enough that I'm going to send the figure back or what have you. I can still make it work. I'm not going to bother with any kind of green stuff sculpting or anything like that. It's a little too fiddly. I think for the most part, unless you're looking for it, you're not going to notice it on here. And I don't think it's indicative of the rest of the line. It's certainly not indicative of the figures that I've had so far. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint it. Now, I was also looking at some of the rest of the figure, and I've noticed that, again, if I can zoom in here for a second. It's got fairly well defined torso here. Right back if you don't stay in focus. Fairly well defined torso here. So again, this could be part of the habit, or it could be separate skin. I'm going to paint it because she's got all this other fabric on here as part of her habit. I'm going to paint the body glove here as a two-piece. So this will be black, this will be flesh, and then this will be black as well, because otherwise she's not showing as much skin as the others, and that's kind of the whole point of this line, is their pinups. So I'm going to go ahead and pause now and start putting down some skin tones, and we'll go from there. Alright, see you soon. Alright, brush monkeys, I've got the skin started on her, and she's looking pretty good so far. As you can see, I decided to go with the bare midriff part, and I think that's turning out really nicely. I haven't based anything else. Normally I do all the base coats, but the flesh wash on the skin is still wet. And as with this, I decided to change things up a little bit with her too. I went with the darker skin tone, basing it with a flat earth, and then layering with tan earth from the Lego model color. And I'm only going to highlight as far as the cork brown on her. So it's going to be a little, and I used the P3 flesh wash for her. So there's that. So hopefully she'll have a nice little darker skin tone. And I think that's going to look good against all that. I may go a little bit light on her. The tan earth, the cork brown isn't really that light. I may do some extreme highlights with the Iraqi sand. Just things like the bridge of her nose and her cheekbone, the hip, top of her hand, that kind of thing. Just to highlight it up a little bit and make it stand out against that, all the black that's going to be of her habit, black and red. But yeah, she's looking pretty good so far. I'm going to take a break and let that flesh wash finish drying, and then I'm going to highlight it, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I'll see you soon. Bye. Alright, brush monkeys, I've got her skin tone done, and she looks really good. And I wanted to stop here for a second and talk about something else. So I started doing the reds on her. I want to see if I can put this back right up so I can zoom in as much as possible. Okay, as you can see, I've done the reds, and as you can see, I've kind of slopped over on the outside of the habit a little bit in some places. And that's not a big deal because I haven't painted the blacks yet. Now, a lot of miniature painters talk about painting from the inside out on a miniature, and this is why. You start with the skin tone, you do the lining of the fabric first, and then you do the outside of the fabric. Then you do any armor, metallics, weapons, all that kind of stuff, and that's usually how I paint. And the reason for that is, as you can see, where it's slopped over a little bit on the outside, when I paint the blacks, that's going to clean all that up, and it's not going to be that big a deal. Now, if I painted the black first and then painted the lining, then that'd be a problem, and I'd have to go back over with the black and clean it all up again. As it is, the only places where it's really slopped over is places that are going to be covered in black or covered in the steel armor. See, there's a little spot on the back of her leg there. A little spot on the gun. Oh, that's a little spot on that gun. That's all going to be covered up as I go. So I just wanted to, I didn't know if I had mentioned painting from the inside out in any of my previous videos, but that's why I do it, and that's why I advocate doing it. So just want to pause there real quick and interject that, and we'll get back to painting. So I'll be back in a little bit when I've got the blacks done. Bye. Alright, brush monkeys, as you can see, I've got the blacks done, and I'm not sure how well it's showing up on camera. It kind of is. Kind of looks, actually looks a little more blue on camera. I started experimenting. I decided that because of the long flowing habits that she's got, she looks like she might be second in command to this one. This is the one we're going to talk about next week, and she's like the mother superior of these girls. But you can see they got similar flowing robes and similar gun poses and that kind of thing. And so I decided that if this one's the mother superior, then this one's probably second in command to her. And so I wanted to do something a little different with the robes. Rather than highlighting them with Ash and Gray or Ash and Gray mixed with black, I used Reaper Master Series Nightmare Black 09280 there. And what this is it's actually a very, very, very dark blue. And it's sort of like, if you've ever seen old comic books, when they paint somebody with black hair, they always highlight it in blue. And so that's what I've done here. Based it obviously with the Army Painter matte black, but then I went and highlighted it with the Nightmare Black, and I think that gives a very subtle kind of blue sheen to it that I think looks really good. Hopefully that gloss will be knocked down a bit by the Army Painter Anti-Shine when I get done. But so far she's looking really good. I also went over the all the leather parts, the little bullet belts and the holster on her hip there, and the hilt and ricasso over sword. And I'm going to do the bullet belts and the holster there in snakebite leather, but the sword hilt and the ricasso, I wanted to do purple just because she's the second one wearing a sword, so I kind of wanted the sword hilt to be purple. But I also want to do the ricasso purple, and like last time where I did the sword hilt and then I kind of decided that the ricasso should also be painted as leather. And so I want this one to match because, you know, of course she's a higher ranking officer, she gets better weapons. So I'm using Citadel's Contrast Paint Shyish Purple for both of those. And hopefully it's a nice dark purple, but hopefully it'll go on and it'll look really good in those recesses. It'll basically replace the purple and the shade wash and then the highlight that I did on the last sword. So I'm going to go ahead and do those contrast paints now, and then we'll come back and take another look at her, and then all that's left is the metallics. and the basing, which is mostly going to be metallics. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and go take care of that stuff. Alright, see you soon. Bye. Alright, brush monkeys, we're back. And you can see I've got the contrast done on her guns, on her sword belt leathers, excuse me, her leathers, her pistol holster, her sword hilt. Looks really good. The Shy Ash Purple was a little bit darker than I thought it was going to be, so I mixed in a little bit of Magus Purple contrast paint to brighten it up a little bit. And I think I hit a good balance there with that. I think that looks really good. So she is looking really pretty spectacular so far. I also layered the reds, so the reds are brighter. And she's looking really good. So all that's left to do is the metallics. The contrast paints take a little while to dry, so I'm going to take a break while those finish drying, and then we'll come back and do the metallics on her. So it's coming along pretty well, making progress. I'll see you in a bit. Bye. Alright, we're back, and as you can see, I've made some progress on this. I based steels on her guns and on her legs and her sword. I based the gold on her sword hilt, and she had a little chain there and her rosaries. And I based the steel and bronze and concrete on the base and based the base band. Probably going to put another layer or two on the base band because it's kind of thin. Layered up the gold so they're nice and bright. Probably going to do the gold accents on her boots the same way I did the last one. We're just going to dry brush on a little of this golden griffin, just to make them sparkly. And I need to shade wash the base. Other than that, she is looking real close to being done. So yeah, I put a little shade wash of Nuln Oil on the boots just to make all that detail pop out a little bit more. So hopefully the Golden Griffin will stand out a little more against this than it did against the just the plain black and steel. And then, like I said, I need to shade wash that base with the Agrax Earth Shade. Layer up the base band and put the metallics on it. She's getting real close to being done. So I'm going to let all the Nuln Oil I just put on the boots, I'm going to let that dry. I think the paint on the base is probably just dry enough now that I can go ahead and put the Nuln Oil, or put the Agrax Earth Shade on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to take a break and let those dry. And yeah, I think the next time you see this, girl, she's going to be done. So I will go ahead and call it done for right now. So I will shut this off and come back when I've got the when I got her finished. We'll take a look. All right. See you soon. Bye. And there she is, Brush Monkeys. Sister Two Tricks Felicidad is all finished, and she looks pretty good. I'm pretty stoked with the way this turned out. Even with that little molding problem on the back, it still looks, it doesn't distract from the figure at all. Looks pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with how she came out. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. I'll go add her to the collection. And our next one, wrapping up the Raging Heroes Daughters of the Crucible collection that I've got, is Sister Esperanza Espinoza. There's a card, there's her. She looks to be kind of the leader of this group. So we're going to tackle her next week. In the meantime, thanks for joining us, and I will see you next week. Bye. Hey Brush Monkeys, Tom from Flying Monkey Studios here. If you like what you see, click like down below. If you want to be notified when new videos come out, click subscribe. Both of those help me with my YouTube numbers and help support me doing and what I do best. Speaking of which, if you want to support me more directly, you can visit my Patreon site and go on my Instagram page to see all the miniatures that I paint on this site and how to get your hands on one of your own if you want one. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. You can check both of those to see when new videos get posted. And visit my merch store at storefrontier.com/FlyingMonkeyStudios. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.